I assume it was for payment for either sheltering me for a night or a week. If that, when I say various families, maybe someone would keep me a couple of days or a week, then I had to go to somebody else, and all of the, it was just crazy.
Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Sharika. My name is Sharika Swedi. Of course, I am the host of this show. I'm called the Mind Reset Strategist because I'm a mindset life coach specializing in mindset and spirituality. I am the published author of a book called An Introduction to Freedom. I am a mentor and a speaker in training. All right, so today my guest is Eula Beckford. Now, Eula is a phenomenal woman, and I am going to give her the opportunity to tell you all about herself. So, Eula, please tell us about Eula.
I see myself as just a ordinary woman walking around with history. And you have to forgive me. I have a tendency to talk with my hands at times.
That's fine.
I am a blessed woman. I am so grateful. I'm thankful. I'm excited about life every single day that I wake up. I am a person who likes to give. I'm a giver, and I love assisting and helping wherever and whenever I can. I think that's a gift in itself, and the joy and happiness that it brings me as well as the receiver. So I am excited and happy to be here with you today. I think this is a momentous occasion in a way for me.
Okay, I like that. I'm glad to have been the person that brought this to your life. So I'm blessed to have you as well. Okay, so I want to know about you. Where were you born? Where did you grow up? What was growing up like for you?
I was born on the island of New Providence in the Bahamas, a little island that's 21 by 4 miles. So that can tell you how big it is. That island hosts the capital of the Bahamas, which is Nassau. So most people don't know that the island itself is New Providence. But if you say Nassau, everybody know, oh, okay, I know where that is. So that's where I was born, and I spent the first almost 3 decades there. It wasn't easy. Now, I'm coming from an era in the 50s, 60s, 70s, when things were so much different than it is now. But the mindset is what actually keeps you going. My life wasn't easy. I've had a lot of tragic incidents. I didn't have a beautiful life. It was really, really rough. It was hard. And that is what led me to our topic today. I was intrigued when I heard you mention forgiveness, because that gets me excited, because when you can speak from past experience, it's different than when you hear. So it happened to me. I had to learn to forgive. And it wasn't until I forgave that I actually felt the burden of what I was taking around with me unnecessarily for so long just lift off my shoulders. Immediately when that happened, when I said, I forgive. Now, there's types of forgiveness, and there's genuine forgiveness, which is, to me, is different than saying, oh, I forgive you. I forgive you. It has the forgiveness has to come from within the heart. It definitely has to come from within the heart. You have to know that you are sick and tired of being sick and tired. You have to make up your mind to say, I am not going to be resentful anymore. I'm not holding these thoughts in my mind any longer, because what is done and we can't change it. The past is the past. And usually if we stay in that mode of unforgiveness, unforgiving, you're stuck there forever. You're stuck in a place where you have no reason to be. I've learned so many things about forgiveness, and since it happened to me, I realized that, and this is statistically proven, if you decrease your blood pressure, because when you keep in all this malice and other things, it gives you stress. So your stress level is decreased. Your cholesterol is decreased. Anxiety, even depression. There is so many things that can happen when you just hold in things that you should really forgive. You should really, really forgive. I've had, you name it, I've experienced it. I've had rapes, childhood abuse. I was, according to the stories that I've heard my entire life, my mother just left when I was 10 days old. And I've had a very abusive childhood. So someone like me have a reason to really hate, to hold anger, and to hold things. And for a while, especially in my teens, when I couldn't figure out what in the world was going on. Why is it happening to me? I was so angry. At times it felt as if I would pop a blood vessel. But actually, by the grace of God, by my faith, and learning that you really, really have to forgive for things to change in your life. Forgiveness is healing. It's the biggest and the most important and successful healing procedure that anyone in this universe can actually acquire. Because you're not only releasing the person, you're releasing yourself from all these different burdens. As I mentioned, the stress, the pain, the sleeplessness, the cholesterol, the not sleeping, the blood pressure, the health issues. Something I learned in high school is that stress kills. And I realized that during my research some time ago on forgiving, the first thing that I learned was that whenever you forgive someone, it actually decreases your range of maybe, and it is because of the stress level, avoiding a heart attack. Who would believe that harboring things that you should just let go? That you should let go. And you cannot let it go until you forgive yourself and the individual or individuals.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I too am big on forgiveness because I've had the experience of how much pressure comes off of you. Like it literally feels like someone took something, like you were carrying a big drum of water or something and someone took it off of you. That's what genuine forgiveness feels like. And I'm not talking about, like you said, there are different levels of forgiveness. Someone did something to you and you say, oh, you're forgiven. But then there is the heartfelt forgiveness that you dig deep inside for, the one that you allow yourself to feel the pain for, you allow yourself to cry about, and then you give yourself permission to let go of. So I understand completely how powerful forgiveness is, because it's something that I've applied. It's something that I've written in my book about. And like, my book is a workbook, and there's a 7 full days of forgiveness in there, because I wanted to ensure that you touch on every single aspect of your life that you need to let something go of. So there's a section about forgiving your cousin and your uncle and your brother and everybody, no matter how small that thing may have been. So I understand the power of forgiveness. I truly do. So now, you mentioned that you had a rough childhood, right?
Yeah.
You went through a lot of childhood trauma. First, I want to know, your mom walked away when at 10 days. Who raised you?
Various families. And that's where the
Mm,
abuse came in. Because, as I said, the 50s, we talking 50s, peak era from the 40s, 50s, 60s. Things were
right.
so much different. And island life is very, very different from city life, and very different today than what it was then. So if you are, I was considered, everybody just called me bastard. They didn't even call me my name. So if I was a bastard and I wasn't a true member of the family, it didn't really matter. It's as if they know that they were doing, this is my personal belief, they know that they were doing this child a favor that they didn't have to do. But as long as there was a roof, everything else really didn't matter. So all these things, and as a child, you're looking for, in fact, when I had my kids, I was still learning. And I noticed when they fought, sister and brother, or cousin and cousin, eventually 5 minutes later they'll say, just forget about it. If we would have the childlike thoughts to just forget about what happened,
Yeah.
it's, I wouldn't say it's easy, it's hard to forget, but you can forgive, and it makes forgetting easier. That
That
weight
is true.
lifted. You
Where
prolong
was
their
your
life.
dad? Do you know where your dad was?
Nobody knew. He had
Mm,
left the island. They thought he was in another island, and they thought he was in the US. We don't know. I grew up without parents. So usually, and that's one thing I pray and I say, oh God, please, if I have any kids, let me live to see them become adults, because I wouldn't even want my sister to raise my kids. I didn't have siblings, but I was incorporated into family that had kids, but they were all teenagers while I was just a little bitty thing. So I had no idea. And that's why when I
wow.
say I experienced what it's like to forgive, believe me, I experienced that, because I always felt, I think it's the Atlas guy that has the world, holding the world on his shoulder. The minute I forgive, and I actually sought out a lot of these people, and I told them, I forget, I brought up the reason why I harbored so much resentment and hate, but it wasn't doing me any good. And I said, I forgive you. And one by one, it's like a world, it's layers. A world just lifted, and I felt so light. I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't know I could feel this light. Carrying things around that you don't need to carry around is burdensome. It's a weight, but you need
Yeah,
to
I
have
agree.
faith and believe. Yes.
So, what were some of the things that happened to you as a child that made you harbor this much hate and anger and resentment?
I think I was hurt because of the abuse and the way I was treated. Some days not having a meal unless the neighbor that worked until 10 o'clock at night would bring me leftovers. And I would wonder, why am I being treated this way? And I'm seeing the older children not being treated the way I am. They're not getting the whippings that I'm getting for no reason, like I am. I was Cinderella. Why was
Yeah.
I doing everything? I assume it was for payment for either sheltering me for a night or a week. If that, when I say various families, maybe someone would keep me a couple of days or a week, then I had to go to somebody else, and all of the, it was just crazy, my life
Wow.
itself. But one thing I always had, I remember I called this lady my grandma, and she died. Oh man, I cried. I think she showed me the most love that I had, because I later found out from older neighbors that she said I was not responsible for what happened. I was just a child. And
Yeah.
she always tell me, never lose faith, pray, and believe. And if it wasn't for that, I don't think I would have survived, because even when I was carrying this resentment around, I still had faith to know that things have to be better. It has to get better. I'm looking at other people, they're not living the way that I'm living. I can't voice my opinion. I can't. It was just crazy. It was just a lot. And
Wow.
even today, people that I know, I don't think they can go through half of what I went through. But because of my faith, prayer, the power of forgiveness, next to God, forgiveness is why I am here today. But all those things, I take those things as life lessons, because I
Hmm.
can assist somebody else. Maybe that's why I'm more of a giver and I love helping, or it could probably just be my nature. But I just like giving and doing, and especially for my children, I give them what I didn't have and what I long for, even though they're adults. If you hear how many times I love you, when we see each other, we are hugging each other, like, especially my boys, they will hug me and lift me off the crowd. They, their, their wives and their fiance would say, "You're mama's boy. You're always talking to mommy. Mommy's always," and I teach them the same thing. Don't harbor any malice. Don't hold things in, because it's not healthy and it's not good for you. And after sharing my story with them, my life story, they realize that the power of forgiveness is truly something that's awesome, and it works, because I'm a living example of that.
Yeah. When were you raped more than once?
I was a mother
When did that start?
about 9 years old.
So it happened in, I'm assuming, one of the homes that you were in?
So these were the people that I know as my relatives. So I would say yes, in my relative home. And then the last home that I went to, that I found out belonged to my, or at least who everybody believed was my grandfather, because now they say my grandfather is my father. Who knows? And that was something else to carry. So I had no one to fight for me, to stand for me, and to do the things for me that I definitely did for my children. So
Yeah.
my legacy, especially for my children and for anybody I know, is just to be remembered a nice person, not someone who was full of malice and hate and anger all the time. Just someone who tried to show love.
Can I ask you, when are you able to remember what that first violation felt like?
Every day, I do every day. And what made it, that particular incident, what made it so bad was the person, it happened on a Saturday, and the
Mhm.
person got up and preached in church on Sunday morning. And the family that I lived with didn't want to believe
That
my
it happened.
my story of who did yes. And that hurt to see that nobody wanted to believe me. In fact, they beat me for saying it because they thought I was just lying.
Mm.
Yeah. Man, I can
And
talk about, I couldn't even talk about these things for a while. I can talk about it now, and as I'm talking, the tears are coming. But I look at this as tears of joy. It's not tears of hurt because even when I was angry, I couldn't cry. But the fact that I was able to let go, I feel like this is cleansing of the spirit and the soul because I'm really not angry. I don't hate them. And I think the last person died about 3 years ago or 2 years ago. So I'm still here. It's for a reason. I'm blessed. I am
let
blessed.
me
And
ask you,
yeah,
was it ever found out? Did anyone ever find out that these things actually happen?
it did because, especially in the last, I would say, when did Me Too start? About 3 or 4 years ago.
Hmm.
It wasn't until the Me Too movement started that other people, I have to say other family members were strong enough to say me too. And I guess the reason for that is because we are all way over half a century. So when you reach a certain age, you can say what you want to say, and you don't care whether you believed or not. But I believe because I was more vocal and nobody else was saying anything, it's either I'm lying or I'm making up the stories. But I live to see that by the grace of God, I was vindicated.
So other people came forward to say
They
it
sure
happened to them
did.
by the same person.
They sure did.
Wow. And that includes the gentleman who went to church the next morning to
Yes,
preach.
ma'am. Yeah.
Wow, that's
Only thing I said, even though I had forgiven him, I had to pray and be happy again that it finally came out after all these years that I was telling the truth.
wow. That must have been quite a good kind of feeling in some sense for you.
It was because me being so outspoken and really I didn't have a choice because I had no one to go to. As I say, I didn't grow up with parents. And I would bring up these things and nobody else would say anything, or they would believe, why am I the only person in this village or this area with that?
Mm.
And to see that either they were told, in fact, some of them said that their parents told them not to mention anything. It had to stay within the house. So I call this family secret. And it's still going on today. But the fact that everybody's old enough now and they don't have any problem saying me too, it was
Mm-hmm.
it was a tremendous relief. But
I can imagine.
I had nothing else to lift off of my shoulder because when I heard it, it was like it's just another story now. There's no hurt or malice for me, but I'm happy that they are able to say it because I feel like they are at the beginning stage that I left behind a long time ago after my forgiving started.
Right, right. Wow. If you could say how many people came forward to say that they were affected by the
Uh,
same individual?
at least that's four, five, at least seven girls that I know.
Wow.
I would be number eight. And it's not
Mm.
just the one person, it's other people. And also, wow, I didn't expect this. But this is tears,
It ha-
like I say, it's tears of joy. I
it
actually,
happens.
I had to, after I told my kids my story, my daughter was the one who actually asked me to go to therapy. And I really couldn't talk about it or bring everything out. Therapy isn't the only thing that you need. The biggest thing, even a therapist will tell you, you have to forgive yourself, you have to forgive. And if I hadn't done that before this, I would not have understood what in the world she was talking about. You have to forgive, you have to let it go. Let, like the song, the kids song, let it go, let it go. Let it go for
Yeah.
your health, for your happiness. Just let it go.
Wow. It was this a prominent thing across where you came from?
I think it is because I've heard other people that I had no connection with at all, as recently
Mm-hmm.
as 2 years ago, stated the same thing. That's why I say it's family secret. So this might have been going on from slavery days. I don't know because I never tried to find out how far back it was.
Back it goes. Yeah.
And when I really started forgiving and I know I needed a new start was when I actually migrated to the USA. And I never went back there for about 30 years. And the only reason I went back was because I heard that the gentleman that used to bring me leftover food at 10 o'clock at night when he got home from work, that he had passed. The funeral was a Sunday. I got there on Saturday and I left on Monday morning. So I was only there for that and that alone. And then it took me another, I think, 10 or 15 years before I went back after that.
So what triggered your journey of forgiveness?
I was depressed. I was still hurt. I didn't feel good. I never felt good. And I realized that a lot of things, a lot of things happen to us or can happen to us because of that. I always read my Bible. And I tell people I'm a lover of the book of Job and also of Esther. And people would
Mm-hmm.
wonder why.
Right.
Anyone who read about Job know that's one of the most sorrowful, to me, one of the most sorrowful books in the Bible. Because
Yeah,
even his
absolutely.
wife told Job to curse God and die because it
Yes.
was so horrible. But he never
Mm-hmm.
lose faith. He always believed. And I said, if I'm believing what I'm reading in these biblical stories, it has to be some truth to it, and it can happen to me. And he never gave up. And look what happened. He got double for his trouble. And then when you go
Yeah.
to the book of Esther, she went through a lot and ended up meeting King Mordecai. And look what happened to her. Her enemy that was plotting and getting ready to kill her was killed in return. So that's telling you, keep faith, keep the faith, be honest, and a lot of times whatever the devil or the enemy is planning or plotting for you, God can turn it around, can turn it around the complete opposite way. I always heard the phrase when I was growing up that whenever you dig two ditch, whenever you want to dig one ditch, dig two because you may fall in it. And
Yeah.
it's true. So the book of Job, my favorite book of the Bible, is what encouraged me the most because he suffered. He went through a lot. I
Yeah.
suffered. I went through a lot. And look where I'm at today. I can smile.
Yeah.
I couldn't smile before. I can smile. I can talk about it. I'm happy.
Yeah, absolutely. I get that completely. And I know you're always smiling and laughing because we talk from time to time. But about if because when you say that you bounced around from home to home and most of the people that you were with, they did not treat you well, right?
Nah,
On average, you stayed with one home for a couple of days. How did you stay anywhere for a year or two?
not until my late teens, I think about 15. And
Mm-hmm.
that was like jumping from the frying pan into the fire because once I moved into that home and they were willing to take care of me,
Mm-hmm.
the wife was hardly there and she didn't care because she had someone, but the husband would rape me just about every day. And
Wow.
that was another hurt on top of hurt. And because the island is so small, where are you gonna go to? You have no one. And they love throwing in my face, you don't have a mom or a pop. You don't have a mother. Who you gonna talk to? Who you gonna report to? Nobody could do me anything. So I felt like I was on a planet, not just a world of my own. But what can I do? I always believed, I always prayed, and I even today, I always believe no matter how rough it gets, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Things can change. Things
What
can
age
really
were
change.
you when you what age were you when you started this journey of forgiveness?
Ooh, it took me, I think I was in my late 30s. It took me a long time because I didn't know better. I didn't know
Yeah,
any
I
better.
understand.
And I
Mm-hmm.
heard it, even when I went to church, I would always hear the pastor would say, forgive, always forgive. Even in the Bible, it says forgive. It says 17, it says just forgive. But I never realized, I heard it, but I never realized how powerful it was. And
Mm-hmm.
I would say maybe at work, I would say to someone, oh, I forgive you. But that's a different type of forgiveness. But it wasn't until I sat down and really thought about it, thought about what all can I gain by forgiving? What can the person gain by me forgiving them? And I think out of all the people that I actually sought out and forgave, it was only one that I wouldn't say he had remorse, but I can see the sadness in his face when we
Mm-hmm.
were talking because I said, you know, I'm speaking to you now, we adults. This is adult to adult. And
Mm-hmm.
only thing he said is, my God, and I have daughters now. And I said, that doesn't matter to me. I just want you to know that I forgive you. I really forgive you from the bottom of my heart because what was done, it affected my life. It destroyed my life because I didn't have, I just shouldn't say I didn't have, yeah, that's correct. I really didn't trust. I didn't know how to trust people, especially men. Even my marriage didn't work because of that. But understanding, wisdom, knowledge, faith, not giving up. And if you could really
Yeah.
sit down, if you could sit and really, really think about the pros and cons. You don't want to
Hmm.
feel the way you're feeling anymore. You don't want to feel sad. You don't want to be in a place where you're constantly thinking about what happened. You want to be happy. You don't want your blood pressure up. You don't need the stress and aggravation. You don't want a heart attack. You just need to be free. You're the only
Yeah.
one who could really, really free yourself by genuine forgiveness from deep within the heart. If it comes from the heart, you can feel it immediately. And you will be
Yeah.
better
I
for it.
agree.
The person might also be better for it.
I agree 100%. Okay, so you had a rough childhood, rough teenage years. I can't even begin to fathom what you went through, so I won't even try. I'm just here to help you share your story so that others can see, because there are so many people that are hurting. There are so many people that have gone through similar experiences as yours, and a lot of them are stuck, right? They're
Yeah.
not growing, they're not moving, their life is hard. They have all the things that you said, you like the high blood pressure and the anger and the anxiety and the stress. They have it all because nothing has been forgiven. So that's why I wanted you to share your story today. So I'm not going to try to fathom what that was like, but I want to say thank you for sharing, because I want people to understand that they can actually move forward. And I've been preaching this power of forgiveness, power of forgiveness. And I think your story testifies to the power of forgiveness. So, again, thank you for sharing that. But you moved to America, right?
Yeah.
Then what did you do? What kind of job did you get into? What were some of the things that you had to do to make your life begin to look a little better?
When I first came, because I had some experience with nursing, I was a nurse's aide. But I
Mm-hmm.
immediately, about maybe a year after I got here, I went to school to be a LPN because I wasn't sure if I would stay in that field or not. And I did
Mm-hmm.
it. I did it in 18 months. A class out of, I think we started with about 35 students. It was, I think, seven of us. I have the picture. I just looked at it recently. It was about seven of us that completed the course at the
Wow.
end of that time. As if you fail one class or one exam, you had to wait until the next class start and get to the area where you pass. But that didn't happen to me. I went through, and that was the most rewarding job that I had. When I walked into the hospital and I saw people that was grateful that I was there, and I'm grateful that I can help them. Some of them, the families didn't come to see them. They couldn't do anything for themselves. They didn't have anyone to talk to. The time went quickly for me because to me, it wasn't a job. It was a
Mm-hmm.
service, something that I like. And that's another thing people always say whenever you're in a job, never get a job. Do something that you like because you will not regret going to work or never feel like I'm not going to work. I even asked for holidays to work on holidays and weekends when people wanted time off. That's how much I
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed it. I really did.
Right.
And I learned a lot from those, especially the dying patients. I learned a lot from them. And one thing a lot of them would always say, and I never forgot that, is that they never had the opportunity to either do what they love and they never had the opportunity to forgive certain people. And at that stage, it was almost too late. But
Yeah.
I think it's a mindset. If you make up your mind and you're genuine, if you really want that change, it can happen. It
I
definitely can
agree.
happen. Yeah,
I 100% agree with that. And I love that you confirmed that you do what you love, that part. Because a lot of people are out there too that are doing jobs to make ends meet,
exactly.
and they're so depressed, they're sad, they're angry, they're bitter, they're resentful. So you just confirmed my beliefs. Do what you love and you never work a day in your life.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah, I left
what do
that
you
after a while and then I came to New York and I worked on Wall Street for 23 years before retirement. That was much more stressful, but it was
Mhm.
rewarding also. It was rewarding.
Wow, amazing. 23 years on Wall Street.
23 years, yeah.
Wow. What exactly did you do?
I worked with the brokers. I worked with Standard and Poor's, and this was all before 2000 when the internet was coming in into play when we had
Mm-hmm.
that thing. The brokers couldn't start their day unless I was there because I had to order what they need or they had to get it from me to get started. But once we
Mm,
start incorporating the internet and putting things on file, then I had various other roles. I was teaching in fact, I never requested a position. They always found something for me. And the last 5 years, they sent me to another. After 9/11, in fact, they
mm-hmm.
sent me to New Jersey to train the new hires that they had. And and I loved it. I loved it. I loved the fast pace. I liked how stressful it was in the beginning because of learning new things. But once you get
Mm-hmm.
rhythm of it, things were going.
Right,
The only thing I didn't like was when some individuals lost thousands of dollars within just a few hours, and
right.
to hear how sad they were. But one thing I know, money doesn't make you happy. It's a necessity. It's a necessity, but it does not make you happy.
Yeah. And today you are a very active Toastmaster. Tell us a little bit about that.
My daughter called me the Toastmaster monster because I had retired. I didn't have much to do. I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
ready to go to work, and I had developed bilateral carpal tunnel, amongst other things, because I also had a aneurysm that had burst in my brain and it caused a stroke. And I've been blessed because most people who have a stroke, they lose their long time memory and keep their short time memory. Mine is
Mm,
like the opposite. I could remember my long term memory, but because of my attitude that I'm not keeping anything that's not valuable in my mind, that don't make sense. Once I forgive
mm-hmm.
and I learn to let go, I just let
Mm-hmm.
go of basically everything. So I don't have a phenomenal short-term memory as most people do, but my long-term
Mm-hmm.
memory, and I thank God for that.
Wow. Okay, you have your own Toastmasters club. I mean, you go to like 6 or 7 Toastmasters meetings per week. Why is this so important to you?
I love it. I love it. I was challenged. Now, as I started to say, being retired and trying to hang out with the seniors, they weren't
Mm-hmm.
doing nothing. I wasn't getting any benefit from it. So I would sit at
Right.
home, I would either do puzzle or Sudoku or something. And one day my daughter challenged me. She said, "Mom, you staying home doing nothing. You need to get out the house. Just get out and do something." I said, "Okay."
Mm-hmm.
She said, "Go to Oats or go to Toastmaster." I said, "What is Oats?" So that's the acronym for Older Adults Technology Service. They basically
Okay.
teach you about technology, but you have to be 60 and older.
Mm.
So I said, because of my past experience, I said, I don't want to go with those old people when I hang out with them. What is Toastmasters? And she said,
Mm-hmm.
that's where you go to talk. A bulb went off. I say, oh, yes, I can talk, so let me go there. I figured it was basically like a round table situation where you can just go and talk about anything. In a
Mm-hmm.
way, it is like that, but it's structured. So I
Yeah,
went,
it is.
my first meeting, I think I was hooked. I just love it. I love the friends that you meet, the networking that you're capable of getting. You learn so much more than you bargained for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Toastmasters basically specialize in public speaking and leadership skills, but you learn a whole lot more. What I didn't
That's
learn
true.
at Oates, I still end up learning in Toastmasters. So I got more than a two for one. I got real experience, real learning, real. I met so many beautiful people like yourself and others. I meet people around the world, like you say. I like to visit clubs in Australia. I have a favorite club in Barbados. I go to England. Uh, I went to a club in Germany once. I gave several speeches in Copenhagen, Denmark. I've been Washington. I mean, all over. So you have the opportunity now to travel the world and meet people because there's a Toastmaster club in
Everywhere.
149 different countries in the world, any language. You have specialty clubs, and it's really nice. I love it. I like the friendship, the camaraderie that you have, as well as you learning at the same time. So it's beautiful. I love it.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Eula, you were an excellent guest. I'm so grateful to have had you on here. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you guys for joining. This was a beautiful experience to have, and I'm so grateful for you, Eula, because you've been through so much, and a lot of the people who have been through some of the things that you've been through, they're still hurting, and sometimes they don't even know it, and they don't know the reasons why their lives not work, why their life is not working. They don't know why they're in so much pain. They don't know why they're resentful. They don't know why they're angry. They just get up every day and they're angry. So I hope that your story is a testament, a testimony. It's something that can show those people that there is better if you're just willing to seek it out, to look for it, to
Yeah.
forgive, to let go, and to make a decision that you're going to move forward, that this is not going to be your life anymore, that you're going to grow. And man, as I said, I'm not going to even try to fathom what you went through, because I've had guests on here who bounced around from different foster homes, and I still don't think they went up to the number of homes that you went up to, and I've had some really interesting stories on here, but I think yours might have taken the cake. So thank you for sharing. I look forward to I look forward to sharing this story on YouTube, and guys, if you want to see it again, feel free to come and check it out, or link me for the YouTube link and I will share that with you. Until next time, my name is Sharika Swaby, the Mind Reset Strategist. I've been speaking with Eula Beckford, the phenomenal woman who is excited about life and living and sharing and being kind and all of that stuff. And you've been watching Conversations with Sharika, where spirits go to find their souls. Have yourself a pleasant, beautiful rest of Thursday.
Thank
Ciao, ciao.
you. Thank you. It was my pleasure. I'm a living
Awesome.
witness. I'm the testimony. So trust me, it can happen. I'm
Absolutely.
here.
Bye.